You know what I mean? So those double standards. The same would be said about Iran. You can't talk to them. They're terrorists, right? They are the biggest state-sponsored of terrorism in the world. We say that every year the United States does. And, you know, so essentially, Danny, you're looking at the double standards, the hypocrisy, that simply just doesn't matter. I mean, the American empire is going to do what the American empire wants to do. There are no standards. It's only its own pursuit of power. And then, of course, those individuals and institutions within it that similarly pursue that type of power for their own self-interest, not because they adhere to any principles, not because they've signed any treaty, not because they're good and decent, but just because this is the best way for power. And so that's what we've seen with HTS. The HTS is the best bet for the Americans in terms of carrying through this vision of removing the Assad government, turning Syria on the map to our color, and something that has been wanted in Washington, D.C. Since the 90s. I mean, this is, I'm sure you've been talking about on your show, this all comes out of the clean break strategy. This is all the Project of New American Century idea in the 90s to remake the Middle East so that Israel is dominant. I mean, what if Iran certainly has not lost its air defense capabilities? I don't think it has. I haven't seen any evidence to display it has. But then you have this issue that the Israelis have to take very seriously of the Iranian ballistic missile response. And the Iranians showed very clearly several months ago that they could get their ballistic missiles onto the targets that they want to in Israel. And so, you know, this idea, this fantasy of dealing the final and ultimate blow to Iran by taking out their nuclear weapons, or their supposed or pretend nuclear weapons, or even decapitating Iran by taking out the supreme leader. None of it brings about regime change in Iran. None of it changes the status quo long term. I mean, there's sure Assad went down, but that was after the end of 13 years of civil war. There's nothing to suggest anything similar in Iran in terms of regime change being able to occur. So what happens then? Thousands of Israelis are killed in Iranian ballistic missile strikes for what? Just for the opportunity to say, does Netanyahu really think that this is the type of political move that will keep him in office, that will keep him out of jail?
آنچه در مورد ما میگویند